So this tweet went pretty viral last night, and we covered this a while back. You know, I have to say, I have to give ourselves a bit of a pat on the back, and really Russ a pat on the back, because when we covered the Skydance Paramount merger, and that was Russ's segment, he warned that really this is a way of giving the Ellison family control over CBS. And he floated the strong possibility at the time that Bari Weiss would end up getting the keys to CBS. So I gotta say, gotta pat myself on the back a little bit. Gotta pat our outlet on the back a little bit. We were ahead of this, but now Dylan Byers has the scoop. Paramount is on the verge of acquiring Bari Weiss as the Free Press and tossing her the keys to CBS News. The deal is on the 1 yard line, I'm told. And he wrote this article here, which was paywalled, and I couldn't even get around it because I guess it's a smaller outlet, so it wasn't even archived. So we're going to use the New York Post, who sort of poached the story off of them, since we could read the whole thing. Paramount in talks to buy Bari Weiss's Free Press for up to $200 million. Give her senior editorial role at CBS News. Paramount is preparing to shell out as much as $200 million for Bari Weiss's buzzy media venture, the Free Press, and hand her the keys to help steer CBS News, in a move that's rattling an already shaken news division still reeling from the $8 billion Skydance Paramount mega merger. Weiss, the former New York Times opinion page editor who launched the Free Press in 2022, is reportedly in line for a senior editorial role at CBS News as part of a deal that would fold her outlet into the new Paramount, according to the Puck newsletter. Paramount declined to comment, but Puck media reporter Dylan Byers pegged the potential purchase price between $100 and $200 million, with sources saying the talks are in their final stages. So apparently the Free Press generates around $15 million worth of annual revenue from Substack. Now, as I understand it, and I'm no businessman, obviously, if I were, I would not be doing this for a living, believe me. But as I understood, the valuation of a company is about 7 times the annual revenue, right? So if you take in $100,000 a year in revenue, your net worth as a company is around $700,000. All right. So 15 million in Substack revenue, that would put your evaluation maybe 100 million, maybe, but 200 million, that is quite insane.
Well, and if you've ever looked at the Free Press, it's a glorified, it's a Substack, it's a glorified blog.
Well, it is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's a blog.
A glorified blog. Like, imagine paying $200 million for a pro-genocide blog. And let this be a lesson to you kids out there. If you're looking for a real payoff, just be pro-genocide, endorse the bombing and starving of children, and you can end up running CBS News and being paid $100 million.
Exactly. The deal comes on the heels of last month's blockbuster merger between David Ellison's Skydance Media and Paramount Global, which ended decades of Redstone family control and put CBS and CBS News firmly under Ellison's watch. Weiss has carved out a reputation for challenging both the left and the right, building the Free Press into a high-profile, subscriber-driven platform that publishes essays, interviews, and investigative work outside the traditional media lanes. Really, outside the traditional media lanes. Really bucking that pro-Israel.
Exactly. Saying good things about Israel. That's the first.
Yeah, right. Really bucking the pro-Palestine trends among mainstream media. Her potential arrival at CBS News would mark her most prominent mainstream role since leaving the Times. So Glenn Greenwald commented on this. Larry Ellison's son, a family whose overwhelming cause is Israel, bought Paramount and CBS from Sherry Redstone, who has the same cause, and will now give Bari Weiss $100 to $200 million to buy her Israel state media outlet and put her in charge of CBS News's editorial direction. Most of the videos of the Free Press, including Barry's podcast, barely break 10,000 views on YouTube. On a scale of 1 to 10 for online impact, this might be a 3. Whatever the $200 million is for, it's not for the real value of her blog, but for Barry's role in spouting Israel propaganda. Exactly. And you could see, some of the view counts on there quite low on the Free Press. To be fair, Glenn says, at least there is finally some room for Israel supporters in the U.S. to corporate media. in the U.S. corporate media, that at least is progress. So yeah, just if you do a simple Google search on Larry Ellison, you see the ties to Israel are pretty deep. Larry Ellison has a long history of significant financial and corporate ties to Israel, expressing strong public support for the country and its military. Ellison and his company Oracle have also been criticized for suppressing pro-Palestinian voices within the organization and through their media platforms. So their financial support and investments, Friends of the IDF. Ellison has been a major donor to Friends of the IDF, contributing millions to the organization. In 2017, he donated $16.6 million to fund well-being facilities for conscripts. Israeli tech investments. He has personally invested in Israeli startups, particularly in the tech sector. For example, in 2025, just now, he led a $23 million funding round for the Israel precision medicine company Imagine AI. Infrastructure funding. In 2007, he pledged $500,000 to fortify a community center in the Israeli city Sderot against rocket attacks. Did I say that right? I don't even know how to say that name.
Sderot.
Yeah, who knows? Who cares? Fuck them. Business involvement through Oracle. Cloud data centers. Under Ellison's leadership, Oracle became the first multinational tech company to offer cloud services in Israel, establishing a $319 million data center in Jerusalem in 2021. Military partnerships, influence on media narratives. You get the picture. This is like one of the richest men in the world. He's kind of like the forgotten oligarch.
Second richest man in the world.
Yeah.
And the numbers you just said make him the largest personal donor, the largest personal funder of the IDF. So the IDF is largely not funded by individuals except for him.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. And now he gets to handpick the editor of CBS News. And now it's Bari Weiss. You talk about a career arc, right? And talk about what sellouts and how shameless these people are. So she writes for the New York Times. She leaves. She makes a big thing about how she was forced out by, closed-minded sort of liberal orthodoxy.
Yeah.
So she founds this Substack, the Free Press, and now she's going to end up right back where she started, over only even in a more mainstream organ now at CBS News. And like you said, if you run a pro-genocide blog, you can get picked to run CBS News. And this was the very alarming part about this whole merger to begin with, which Rush pointed out. Go ahead.
Yeah, the story for a while just became that Colbert's show was ending because of the merger. And it was really, if you read those articles, it's just described simply as, I don't even think Ellison's name usually comes up. It's just Skydance and Paramount are, canceling, merging and canceling Colbert's show. But the larger story is, ignore the name Skydance. Skydance doesn't fucking mean anything. This is Larry Ellison's son. So this is Larry Ellison and his family buying Paramount, which owns CBS and owns Viacom and owns a dozen other things, buying that up in order to have major control over, one of the, I'd say, top 5 news-making organs in the United States. This is one giant oligarch purchasing information on a mass scale. I mean, all the Paramount movies and everything, you can be sure none of those are going to ever say anything about Gaza or maybe even anything negative about the U.S. empire at all. That's really the story. And instead, the story the mainstream will cover is just Colbert got fired.
Yeah. Yeah, even that Woody Allen expose documentary is going to get nixed now. They're not going to host that on Paramount anymore either. Yeah, but
Hot Girls of the IDF is coming out soon, though.
Yeah, Hot Girls of the IDF. Right. They'll start a whole TikTok where they can make that, part of the CBS umbrella.
Family,
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes we get criticized on this show for featuring a lot of mainstream articles from, NBC and New York Times and stuff and Washington Post. And I always say a lot of why we tend to feature those articles is to steel man the point, because a lot of tactics of naysayers is to basically attack the source, right? Yeah. So if we use our friends run, we are good friends with the people over at antiwar.com, and we do feature them, pretty often. If we only featured them, people would say, well, that's, whatever. That's just one of your own propaganda rags that you like so much. So I like to use NBC or to use the New York Times is to point, hey, look, even they're saying this. We're just taking the facts from this and putting our perspective in place of theirs. However, I would have to say, like, I would really consider boycotting CBS if they actually pull the trigger on this deal, because it's just so vulgar. Like, this is the next escalation of the Telecommunications Act, of the consolidation of media, to have the second richest guy in the world. And as you just said it, and I did not know that, thank you for saying that, the number one private funder of the IDF, to have him buy up such a chunk of the media space is just so obscene. It's so obscene. It just shows you, in my opinion, the inevitabilities of capitalism, that this is what happens when everything is for sale. Eventually it gets this bad.
Yeah, I call it the gravity of capitalism. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a slow merging of these things and the richest people in the world. I mean, let's be honest, even if he spends a few $1 billion on purchasing Paramount, CBS, Viacom, all those things, that is a fraction of his net worth. It's almost nothing to him. So you're inevitably going to get to a place where these people own the information. And Jeff Bezos, of course, bought the Washington Post, and Murdoch bought the Wall Street Journal and already owned Fox News. So Murdoch owns a lot of the information in this country. And we're just seeing this left and right. And, and even in the ones where it wasn't like some billionaire came in and bought it up, you have the New York Times is obviously one of the wealthiest families in the world still, even if they're not one of the top 10 richest. And, they're controlling the informational output of the New York Times. So it really is the oligarchs. It's their show. It's a big club and we ain't in it. It's their show and they're deciding the information we receive. And it's also kind of funny because let's also be clear that it's not like CBS was just prior to this purchase was just a crazy, left-wing Marxist rag. It was already pro-empire. It was already largely pro-Israel, even if it had occasional stories on the starvation in Gaza. It was largely already pro-prison industrial complex, war machine, all this shit, corporate America. It just wasn't quite enough for Larry Ellison. So it's like the slightly more right-wing oligarchs pulling the thing that was already pro-empire, pro-capitalist even farther.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that is really a microcosm of their entire program. Like, if you look at the One Big Beautiful Bill, what that is just the final power grab of these people, where they know they're going to pay a political price for this, assuming we have a free and fair midterm election, which is an asterisk at this point.
Yeah.
But, you're seeing Joni Ernst, the senator from Iowa, just announced she's not seeking re-election. That's because she's afraid to lose. Like, they know they're going to pay a political price for this, but they don't care. They don't care because the interests that own both parties control the Democrats enough where they're not going to undo much of this, if any of it. And this is their chance to finally just go pedal to the metal and take every last crumb that they can possibly get their hands on, including in the media space. And that seems to be what this is.
Yeah, I mean, the social safety net was already gutted before now. It already, looked like a goth girl's fishnet stockings. It was already ripped to shreds, but they want to collect those crumbs. They want to take away the final remaining food stamps and the final remaining funds to public schools. And it really is just feasting on the carcass of a collapsing empire. Like, that's what we're seeing. And yeah, there might be some political price to pay, but as you point out, it's well worth it for them because they don't, at the end of the day, they care less about being in office than they care about enriching themselves.
Exactly.
Please clap.